All right, everyone, let's get going. Welcome to the Vendasta webinar today. Focus selling with the Snapshot Report. What we're going to be doing is going through our award-winning Snapshot Report, talking about some of the recent changes that we've made, and how to use each of these sections to help sell the products and services that we offer as well.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees
Hey,
are in
everyone, we're
listen-only
going to
mode.
get going here in just 1 minute. We're just letting a few more people filter in, and then we can jump right in. Just want to do a quick mic check, make sure you can see my mouse moving around the screen and everything. Just put that in the question box if you can see me.
You minimize that.
All right, everyone, let's get going. Welcome to the Vendasta webinar today. Focus selling with the Snapshot Report. What we're going to be doing is going through our award-winning Snapshot Report, talking about some of the recent changes that we've made, and how to use each of these sections to help sell the products and services that we offer as well. So my name is Craig Taylor. I'm a manager of partner development here at Vendasta. I've been with Vendasta for over 2 years now. My role includes in-market training with sales teams. That often takes me into businesses to help those sales executives sell using the Snapshot Report. For those of you that don't know about the Snapshot Report, it's an award-winning marketing needs assessment that arms you with automated insights into a business's online marketing performance. These insights allow you to start the conversation with business owners, highlight gaps in their marketing, and propose optimal solutions as well. Now, before I begin going through each section of the Snapshot Report, how to use that section to sell, I want to discuss a little bit on how best to use the report. The biggest mistake that I see a salesperson make when trying to sell using the snapshot is they'll just walk their prospect through each section and then they'll say to their client or their prospect, well, what do you think about this information? Now I'll just take you over to a snapshot here. This webinar is going to be a live demo of this example snapshot, and we'll be able to go through. So the snapshot, it really allows a salesperson to have an educated conversation around the biggest needs that prospect may have. So in my experience, it's best to focus on 1 or 2 sections and highlight these as the most important need, which helps to create urgency in that sales environment. So to highlight that a little bit, a new change that we recently made actually allows you to rearrange the sections so that you can highlight those areas first and leave the other sections as valuable information, or you can cover them later in that conversation as well. So let's say from here, we actually wanted to move up advertising, then we could have that right from the start. Now, for our purposes today, I'm going to leave this as is because we're going to be going through each section, but wanted to show you before you send out that snapshot or take that, you can actually rearrange those different sections, make sure what you want to highlight is coming up first. So this is an example of the different ways that you can edit the snapshot report as well. So this is a screen that as a salesperson or your sales team can see before they send it out, before they go through. But what the actual client is going to see is more around this screen here. So this is the one that I want to take you through today. So I want to talk about one more piece before we kind of dive in. There's a number of ways that a salesperson can get this snapshot report into their hands of their prospect. So you can print it, you can email it, you can share that link, or the way we've seen be most effective is send it out using our powerful marketing automation system. So with that in mind, let's dive right into the snapshot report. Like I said, I'm going to take you through each of these sections. I'll highlight which sections are new and some of the new changes that we've had, and then also go through how best to use each section to sell a product or service for that section. Now you can see here, if you're used to our old snapshot report, there's already a couple of changes. Down on the left-hand side here, you can actually click to whichever section you'd like, and you can go to that section, making it very easy to navigate as you go through, or if you've sent that through to someone. Starting off with the snapshot, though, you can see right at the top there's a call to action. It drives that prospect of yours into the business center so they can see your solutions, see the different products that you may have in the business center. Next section here is the anchor data for the snapshot report. So a really important section, because this is what we consider to be the absolute correct data that's out there. It's going to affect how we look at the listing section and a few other sections as well. So you want to make sure that that looks just the way that that prospect wants it to be, from the name, address, city, state, zip, phone number, their website, so on and so forth. You see we've pulled in some images for this business as well that we've been able to find on them. Now, very importantly here, we've got the score for each of these different sections there. So we have an overall score of 50%. So in aggregate of all of the different areas, and you can see the grades that we've highlighted for listings, reviews, social, website, advertising, and SEO. Right off the top of the bat, you can see maybe there are a few things that we should focus in on with this client, like advertising, which is an F. That red F really does stand out compared to the other sections. That you can focus in on that and help to create urgency while selling that snapshot report. But we will come to that point. Like I said, I do want to go through each of these sections first. So let's start out with the listings section. Now, with listings, what we're looking at is this prospect or this client. Are they found on as many sites as they possibly can be? And is their information correct? Is their listing information correct? So now if you've sent this report out, they could take a look at the video. They can read that little blurb that's there as well. It's going to help them to understand why listings are important, why that section is important. This business has an A, so let's kind of look at why that is. They're found on 38 different listing sources. We've identified 54 as possible listing sources that they can be found on. So they're doing pretty well. They're found in a variety of places, which means if one of their clients is looking for them online, there's a good chance they're going to find them. Now, when they do find them, is there a good chance that information is going to be correct? Well, as we look at the listing accuracy section here, we can see that at almost 80% of those 38 listing sources they're found on are 100% correct. So what that means is there is most of the sources that are out there, they're being found with accurate information, which is great. You can see it's much higher than the industry average as well. But we still highlight a few of those sources where they may have an error, like an incorrect phone number, a different website, or a missing website on some of those sources too. It's always good to highlight those different pieces. Now, when you're selling using the listing section, what you really want to be able to highlight here is how are they doing compared to that industry average. And the grade is very important to show them that as well. In this case, listings might not be a section that I want to focus on during a sales call with that client, because they already have an A, they're doing pretty well compared to the industry average. Now, as we look at the last piece right down here, the data provider accuracy, of course, there's always going to be ways that we can improve their information. And for example, here, they're accurate on 2 of the 4, but they have errors on New Star Localese. They're not found at all on Factual. So there's always ways that we can improve that data. Maybe down the line, that's something we want to bring back up to them once we've addressed some of the more urgent needs. Now let's take a look at the next section here, which is our reviews section. I really like being able to talk to that reviews section, and if they have an F in reviews or whatever that grade is, there's always a great point that you can bring up to talk to them about. You can see here they have a C. Now on first glance, you might think, well, how do they only have a C if they've got almost 2,400 reviews coming in? They've got a good consistent amount of reviews coming in on a monthly basis. But the biggest point that we can see here is that their average review score is quite a bit lower than that industry average. Now, why that's really, really relevant, especially to this client, but to all of them, is because reviews are where someone is going to make that choice between your prospect's business and another business that's out there. So by having a 4.04, if their competitor, maybe they only have 90 reviews, but if they have a 4.5 or a 4.75 review rating, there's a good chance that that business is going to be chosen. So again, reviews might not be one of the initial pieces that we want to focus in on, but it's something that we can come back to, maybe offer them something like a reputation management solution, and so that they can focus on what feedback are they getting from those reviews, and they can address some of the negative feedback at their location and start to increase that review score. Of course, there's always the possibility of offering them the ability to have us manage or respond to reviews as well as a solution. Now let's take a look at social media here too. So they've got a D in social media. When we look at Facebook, one of the most important sites out there for social media, they've got 628 likes compared to an industry average of 548. So they're doing slightly better there. But when we start to dive in and see some of this information on the posts that are out there, it's not looking so good. They have about 3 posts on a monthly basis is what they're averaging. They're only getting half a like on average per post, and even less for shares that are going out there. So what that tells me when I look at this information is that they're struggling to put out engaging, good, consistent content to that audience that they have, which is limiting them from increasing that audience, and it's limiting them from being able to market on a weekly or a monthly basis to that audience that they've built. Then when we look at Twitter, that brings it up a little bit because they have quite a few Twitter followers, but way, way below in the actual amount of tweets that are going out. So again, that shows me from a social perspective, they need consistent posting. Might be a few reasons. Maybe they don't have the internal resources. Maybe they just don't have the time to do that. When I look at social at a D, even though it's not an F, this is a section that by the end of the snapshot report, as we go through, we're going to see that this is an area that we should focus on because there's a lot that we can do to help them out with this, and they're in pretty dire need when we look at what's going on here. So next section, let's take a look at the website. So we're pulling this data in directly from Google. So the grades that are coming out is how Google would grade a website. We're going to look at the mobile website, really, really important. We're going to look at what it looks from a desktop as well. So we've with the mobile website, they actually have a B, which is pretty good. We give a little image of what that mobile website looks like, and then there's always going to be information on the website for what can they do to improve it as well. So there's 2 ways I like to use the website section when selling using the snapshot report. If you're selling a website, it's a great way to say, hey, this current website you have is lacking in these areas. You know, I can either build you a new website or help you manage it, whatever that might be. If you're not selling a website as part of your package, then it's a great leave behind information that helps to set you up as an expert in the industry because you're educating them on this section. You're leaving some information that they can maybe take to their web person to say, hey, can you optimize these areas? This is where my website's slowing down right now. Just helps to establish that relationship. So now as we look down into the desktop here as well, we can see that the desktop is ranking a little bit worse than the mobile site. There's a C. If we wanted to actually go in and click into this, now we can see what needs to be fixed for that specific item. That's going to help speed up this website. The last piece around the website is this homepage content here at the bottom. So they want to make sure that the right phone number is there, that it's not too big of a website, and that they also have all their social media channels there too. So that just helps to make sure they have the right kind of content that's out there. So now as we move into advertising here, we can see they have an F. This is a newer section. So if you're familiar with the old Snapshot, you may not have seen some of these areas in the advertising. What we're doing is we have a direct link into some of the Google AdWords data. So the first part of the advertising section, we're looking at what's the opportunity here. And we use a cost per click of $5 and then an unlimited budget to show how many possible impressions for some keywords here, like used car, cars for sale, for this one, and then also the possible clicks, looking at that with an average cost per click around those keywords. So some really, really good information to start that conversation of, hey, what are you guys currently doing with your SEM? What are you currently doing on Google AdWords? And you can start to talk to them about if they're doing anything or what they're currently doing. And then you can start to look at some more specific information here. So under this search engine marketing section, we start to get an estimate of what they spend over the past 30 days, how many clicks they would have got, the amount of relevant keywords that are out there too. And we're going to compare this prospect to 4 of their competitors that are closest in the overlap of keywords that they're using. So that means we can closely tie them to probably competing for a lot of those same keywords in a similar area. Part of the reason that where that F comes from is we're looking at cost per click. So we're showing the clicks at 901 and a budget of almost $2,000 there. So when we calculate that cost per click, it's lower than it's in the bottom tier of their industry average. And we can see that a little bit because some of these direct competitors are spending at a much higher rate and getting a much larger amount of clicks on a monthly basis. Again, this is looking back over the past 30 days. Even down to if we look at this competitor down here, they're spending a little bit less, but they're getting more clicks. So it's not quite as efficient as, it's more efficient than the prospect we're looking at here. So if I'm looking at this, I'm having the conversation with them on, so it looks like you guys have a budget and you're spending money on search engine marketing, but I don't think that you're optimizing it as well as you can. There's also a large room for growth here on your budget to start competing more with those direct competitors. So why don't we talk about increasing your SEM budget a little bit and how we can optimize it a little bit better than what you're currently doing. And then right there at the bottom is retargeting as well. So if someone's visiting the website for this prospect, in this case, they're not getting retargeting ads. So they're losing out on some of those people that are visiting their website. They're losing out on being top of mind over the next little while. Now, again, not only because of the F, but that's a great indicator that this is likely one of the sections that we should focus on when we're selling using the Snapshot Report here. Now, going into our last section, this is a new section for us in the Snapshot Report, and this is SEO. So where in the advertising section, we were looking at cost per click. What we're looking at for SEO is value per click. So you can see here, it's similar looking, but what we have here is value on the right-hand side. So that's actually based on the keywords we found. We're calculating what the value, similar to how we would calculate the budget for SEM. So we are looking at what that keyword would be worth from an SEM standpoint, but then attributing that as value to SEO. So these clicks that are coming through, although they're organic, they're SEO driven clicks, we want to assign a dollar value to those as well, so they can have an understanding of how their SEO strategy is currently working and how they're doing. So these guys here, they're getting a great number of clicks. There's some competitors that are look to be probably investing more and spending more because they have got 15,000, but right around 4,000 clicks for close to 1,400 keywords and a great value associated is better than those 3 businesses right underneath. So compared to their industry average, their value per click is quite high, which is why they're getting a B. So this section here, this is not one that I might focus on from a selling perspective, at least initially, but you can start that conversation and have that conversation as we go through. So like I mentioned, what I wanted to do was be able to kind of walk through and go through each of the sections, some of the changes that we've had. But as I mentioned, really important to focus in on a couple of sections so you're not overwhelming that prospect when you're in that initial sales call, and you can start to have other conversations as they come up. So as I look at this snapshot report, there's two sections that I would really want to focus in on here. The social section, where we saw some really lackluster Facebook engagement and content there. So I'd want to propose some managed services to be able to post content for them and hopefully increase their likes on their Facebook page and get that content out to increase how many tweets they're doing on Twitter and other social media channels. And the other area I'd focus on is advertising. They're just not getting some efficiency out of their SEM dollars that they're spending. So I'd have that conversation about how can we increase this budget a little bit and get more efficiency from the dollars that you are spending. So at that point, thanks everyone that was posting questions as we went through, so I can go through some of those questions now and answer those. And then if there's any more questions, please feel free to ask. What I'll do is I'll take a look at these questions, and then I can read them out and then give you an answer as well. Someone asked, do all of these stats continue into the executive report so we can track improvement? The majority of the sections that we have here, we're going to see similar areas in the executive report, but there's a few, like the advertising section and SEO section, that don't have that direct data continuing past that point. It's a great comment. We always want to make sure we're showing the best proof of performance. And as we build out our new executive report, we're always taking that into consideration. The next question I had, the number for tweets, is it in a month or what is that? That's actually, so the tweets are actually their total tweets all time. So it's a little bit different from what the Facebook, we do look at posts per month, but for Twitter, we're looking over all time. How many tweets do they currently have? The next question here is, the grades for social, are they based on the industry average comparison? And if so, why is it just to see when they are higher than the industry? So it is based on comparing to the industry average, but it's based on the percentile that they're fitting into that industry for that. So, and for social, as we look at that, you're right, they are higher than the industry that average that's there, but they're very close to the industry average as well, which is why they're around a D. Like there's certain amounts. As they improve those likes and get out of that bracket, they would see that increase further from a D upwards from there. And really the point there from having a D right around industry average is they want to be better than average. We want to be driving people to be in that 95th and above percentile. That's where they're really going to be winning. Next question, the addition of images, is it a new thing? And then continues on, does it happen automatically or do you have to manually pull them in? So it does, it's something that has been around in the snapshot, those images, and they are pulled in automatically. Generally, we're looking at a couple of different places when we're generating that report to pull in those images. If they've got a good Google presence, they've got a good presence out there, we're likely going to pull in some images that they have associated. So the next question, can you please talk to industry average? What is the comparison? Has this changed? For our clients, it was Active Life. So the industry average, like I started to explain in social, what we're looking across that industry that you've set for that client, and the grading itself is based on the percentile for that. So if your client is falling into the 95th percentile above, they're going to be an A, so on and so forth. We actually have an article that helps to explain this in detail, which for each section, how is that calculated, and it shows, it has a breakdown so you know a little bit more. So be sure to check out from support.vendasta.com. You want to take a look at this. It's a little bit different for each of the sections, and we have that breakdown there. What does a grade mean? What percentile is it fitting into? And that's how we're comparing it. But the industry average is based on that taxonomy that's assigned when you're creating that snapshot report. Next question here. In the advertising section, does the creator of the snapshot enter the keywords? No, we're doing that automatically through the snapshot, and we're scraping a few different places, namely the website, though, to try and find what we think are the best keywords that they should be looking at, and then we're hooking up with that Google Adwords data to be able to show those. Next question here, just to help to explain better the value for SEO clicks. So I'll try and explain this as best as I can as we go through. So the value, we've got a little tooltip there. So just to read through that, the estimated value it's you and your competitors are getting from all your organic keywords. So if we looked at how many clicks we're getting for these keywords and the value that Google AdWords would put on one of those keywords, we're determining that through those clicks for those keywords that are there, they're getting $12,000 in value. And we're associating it to what Google AdWords puts on that keyword from a cost per click standpoint. So we're using that same data, but we want to, it's more value because they're organically getting the clicks that are coming through them. Next question here, is there a way to change the competitors the report is pulling in for advertising and SEO? No, the way that we're doing that is based on overlap. So again, just to take a look at the little tooltip here on overlap, it's how similar you are to the competitors based on common keywords. Both in advertising and SEO, we're looking at that overlap. It is to a certain extent localized around that business too, so it's not all over the place, but a lot of those overlapped keywords would have that kind of local flair to them too. But we want to show that overlap because it really is a way for us to best showcase those who's kind of closest to you in those two areas. Next question is the average for each section based on the overall average respective to that business's vertical or industry. Yeah, it's so we're looking at the data in that industry or that vertical that we've assigned there, and then it is the overall average for each of those sections. That's what we're seeing for industry average, and we're basing that off the million plus businesses we have in our system that are within the to grab that data. Just a comment, it'd be great if the development team could add a download as PDF. We'll take that as feedback and see if we can make it a little bit easier for that. There's a question here. Have you thought about expanding the snapshot report for multi-location organizations? So one report might cover multiple locations instead of having to generate a report for each location. We're actively looking at ways to improve all of our multi-location aspects within our products and our platform. So this is something that I don't have an update for you right now. Absolutely, we're thinking about it. Someone had a question around if LinkedIn would be included in the social section. So when you're creating that snapshot, you can include their LinkedIn page. It's not something that we show in the Snapshot report. We're just showing Facebook and Twitter at this time. There's a question here if Vendasta is available in all countries. We will come back to you specifically, Mark, and we can talk further about our capabilities in each different area. Someone had a question: if the report comes back and states they don't have a Facebook page when they actually do, how should we respond to that? There's a case that sometimes when we're scraping for data, we may not find that Facebook page immediately. Sometimes our report takes a little bit more time. If that Facebook page is a little bit more difficult to find, like it's not directly on their website, there is a way that you can, if you notice that, you can add it in. If you notice it's missing, but you know they have a Facebook page, you can go into the demo reputation management account that's created with each snapshot and add that in. If you have more questions around that, please contact our support team and we can walk you through how that looks. Yeah, the other point around, if we can't find a Facebook page, oftentimes it means it's difficult for your prospects' clients to even find that Facebook page. So it's a great, if someone brings that up to you, oh, I do have a Facebook page, that's the conversation you want to be able to have with them to walk them through that. The objective is to be found easily. If our system can't find it, there's probably pretty difficult for other people to find it too. Question here: why do some results for SEO show companies that are not competitors within the vertical for the prospect that we ran the report for? So for this, I can't answer that right here on the line, but if you could send in that example and what the report was to support@vendasta.com, we will absolutely take a look at it and see what might have happened in that case. Someone asked, did you discuss the biggest mistake that people do when selling from the snapshot? Yeah, I mentioned it right at the start. So what the biggest mistake when selling that snapshot report is actually what I've done with you guys today. So it's walking through each and every section of that snapshot report and just telling the prospect the information that's there and expecting them to come to the conclusion of what they need. What you want to do, instead of just walking through each and every section, you want to focus in on the areas that you've identified as their biggest needs. And then if you choose one or two of those sections to be able to talk to them first about those, doesn't mean you can't talk to the other sections, but you want to make sure that you're addressing their most immediate needs first. It's going to help you to have to keep them from being overwhelmed by the amount of information here, keep you on track for being able to sell something to them. Someone asked if this recording is being sent out as a follow-up. Yeah, each of these webinars is recorded. We both post it in our support center and we can send it up as a follow-up. Question here: what information is used to judge a website? One of the businesses got an F and it was a website we set up. Again, so that information is coming directly from Google. Google Page Speed Insights is where we're pulling those from. A lot of the time what it could be is their mobile website. So you need to make sure it's mobile friendly, but then definitely check out each of those areas and see why they got the grade, because there's a lot of information here on how to speed up that website, what Google thinks might be, slowing it. And we're, again, just as we look at the grades, it is based on the percentile for their industry. So maybe the website is just a little bit slower compared to the industry average for that industry or vertical. So it looks like, just as a follow-up to that, Google Page Speed Insights is where the website information is coming from. That question was asked again. So it looks like that's what we've got for questions for today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on the webinar. And again, this was recorded, and we'll be sending it out to everyone and have it on our website if you'd like to rewatch and re-listen to that. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.